All right, it's time for episode number 103 of the Press Box Podcast. Today's episode will be a Week 7 NFL recap, as we do every week. We'll talk about this past week's game, which finished up with Monday Night Football, the Saints beating the Seahawks, and then we'll also preview a little bit of the Week 8 games coming up with a big Thursday night game with the Packers and Cardinals, which will be a really good one. But before we get into the episode, as we always do, let's talk about our Twitter account at PressBoxPod on Twitter. Follow us on there, interact with us, suggest topics, whatever you guys want to do. We always enjoy the interaction. And also we should mention our YouTube page, search Pressbox Podcast on YouTube, as well as Instagram now as well. If you did not get a chance to listen to our special 100th episode, that we did last week, make sure to go and do that on iTunes. Subscribe on iTunes as well. Leave us a review, rate, listen to old episodes, and let us know what you think. We're always looking for interaction on iTunes as well, so that'll be good. But like we said, let's talk some NFL football on episode 103, Week 7 recap here on the Press Box Podcast.
Okay, welcome back to the Press Box Podcast. Hi, I'm your co-host, Ralph Miranda. I'm joined by my co-host, Joseph Miranda, our producer, Nathan Miranda. This is episode number 103 of the Press Box Podcast, and today is our weekly NFL recap. We are 7 weeks into the NFL season, which still leaves us a good 11 weeks of NFL football to watch and analyze. But some teams have 7 games under their belt. Some teams have 6 games under their belt as the bye weeks started last week in week 6. So I guess I'll start by turning it over to Joseph. There were some really good games this week. I guess every game in the NFL is a good game. But Joseph, what were your initial thoughts of week number 7 in the NFL?
Initially, I want to look at the Titans-Chiefs game because we talked a little bit about last week about both teams, but I think we talked about this being a crucial game for both teams. And the Titans took a big step forward, and the Chiefs took a pretty big step back. I thought that was kind of my biggest way that maybe the Chiefs really are in trouble because they didn't look great at all, and Mahomes struggled. Whereas the Titans were able to win handily without. I mean, Henry played well, but without like a gigantic day from Derrick Henry, right? So, they showed me that they may be a Super Bowl contender now. I think they took a step closer to that anyway, with the one on Sunday. So that was probably my biggest takeaway. New England surprised me a little bit how badly they beat the Jets. I didn't really think they were capable of scoring 50-plus points, even against the Jets. So, and we talked last week, too, about how New England's maybe a little bit better than the record, which I think they showed, too. So, they're right in still in the East with Buffalo. So I think right off the bat, not really, digging too deep in any notes. Those are the 2 biggest takeaways. And then also the Bengals too. I forgot to mention them.
Right.
And beat Ravens, and are they in first place now? I think they are. Right?
Yeah, they're tied with the Ravens for first place. Yeah.
Okay.
They're in first, but technically they're in first place because they have the game up on the Ravens. Right.
Right. So we talked about how impressive the Ravens were last week against the Chargers. Well, the opposite happened to them this week with the Bengals, So I'm not really sure about what that means for the Ravens, but I know for the Bengals it means that they're not a Super Bowl contender, but they, I think they're a playoff team.
Right. Nathan?
Yeah, Joseph, I mean, I would like to talk about all those points once we get into it. I don't have anything else to really add to it, except for maybe the Lions and the Rams. I was surprised how close the Lions played the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, yeah, everything Joseph mentioned too.
I want to throw something out before we get deep into the games. Everybody knows that Tom Brady threw his 600th career touchdown pass Sunday, correct? You knew that, Joseph, right? Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you Nathan and I saw on I think it was Facebook, may have been Twitter. that apparently Mike Evans, when he caught the pass, he gave it to a fan in the stands.
I watched it happen. I watched it happen live. Yeah.
Okay. And Tony Romo got a bunch of heat about, they showed the video of him negotiating of the Tampa Bay representative negotiating with the fan, and Tony Romo said that he could offer him a date with Giselle. Of course, everybody got into that. But anyway, I have the final transaction of what was offered to the fan, or what was given the fan in return for the football. It says the deal has been made. The fan will receive 2 signed jerseys plus a helmet from Tom Brady, a signed Mike Evans jersey plus his game cleats, a $1,000 credit at the Bucs team store, and 2 season tickets for the remainder of this season plus the next season. So the fan came out pretty good on that deal, I think.
Well, I don't think he did, because I saw like one of the top auction house guys said the ball could go for $500,000 to $600,000 at auction.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but I would imagine that 2 signed jerseys and a helmet plus a Mike Evans jersey might go for a little bit anyway, right?
The Mike Evans signed jersey is like $100.
Yeah.
Well, I saw too that on Twitter today that the fan received 1 Bitcoin from Brady.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's good. That's worth a lot of money, right?
Yeah. Today it's about 60,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
so he could cash in right now and get $60,000.
Yeah. Anyway,
that also tells us that Brady must be holding Bitcoin.
He must be.
Probably quite a bit.
Which is interesting. But yeah, we were talking about, that's interesting. We were talking about what we would take, Joseph, for that. And we talked about the same thing, that it has to be something of a monetary value,
right?
Not just like get to meet Tom Brady because that ball's worth money.
Right.
I think I would keep the ball and take it to auction personally.
Yeah, but
if Brady wants it, he can bid back.
Brady can afford to buy it.
No, that's a good point. That's an excellent point.
You can't force him to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You can't force him to take the deal. That's right. I mean,
Evans screwed up when he gave it away.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
I didn't know the ball would have been worth $500,000 or $600,000. I would assume that a significant home run ball would be worth more money than something like that. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess nobody had ever thrown 600 before, so I guess that's part of it.
Yeah, but
that's true.
Yeah, I would think some type of sideline passes for the entirety of a game for like multiple games or the rest of your life or something would be something that would be a good thing to ask for. You can watch the game from the sideline for basically the rest of your life or something like that. But that doesn't have, I guess, a lot of monetary value either, though. But
no, it doesn't.
But that's interesting. The Bitcoin thing is interesting though, because if he wants to, he could sit on, and that could turn into $500,000 maybe.
Right.
But that's funny. I was wondering what the final deal was. I saw on TV they were talking to the fan at some station. Yeah. And I'm assuming he was telling them what he decided or whatever.
Right. Well, I thought he got a pretty. I mean,
he got a lot of stuff. I would have thought they would only give him a few of his wishes, but he got a lot of stuff. But he got a lot of just that stuff, like cleats and just like. All that stuff is not worth that. I mean, think about how many things Tom Brady has signed in his career and continues to sign.
I know.
Probably quite a bit.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't think those autographs from Tom Brady are worth that much money. I mean, like
we're getting sidetracked here from the recap. But last thing I'll say, if you're going to take a deal, it should include like him being agreed with Brady. I mean, come on.
Right. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up since we were talking about it yesterday, and the final deal was unveiled. I agree with you guys on the games that I thought were the interesting ones of the week. I mean, the Titans now have beaten the Bills and the Chiefs, which the Bills are the odds-on favorite to be in the AFC Championship game. We thought the Chiefs were, but they have some inherent problems. One is their defense. Their defense is horrible. I've said all along that their defense was not very good the last 2 years. I think it's worse this year than it was the last 2 years. And the difference is, this year, their offense is not able to make up the difference. Mahomes is taking too many chances. He's turning the ball over a lot more. And you've got a team now that I don't want to say they're in disarray, but the pieces aren't working together like they were. And I think you see some major flaws in this team right now based on the fact that their offense is not able to cover for them. But like you said, Joseph, I mean, the Titans, they're legitimate Super Bowl contenders now. They've beaten what you would consider to be the two favorites in the AFC. They play the Colts this week. The Colts did beat the 49ers. They're still 2 games behind the Titans, but if the Titans beat them this week, I think, they cruise to the South Division Championship.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about who the Titans have to play in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, the Bills. I mean, they just beat those Chiefs handily.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah,
they've proven they can do it. I guess the Ravens could pose a threat in the playoffs.
right.
I mean, they get there, but those are the 2 biggest threats, and I don't think the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl, but if they can find a way to get in, they may make a little bit of noise, But
the Patriots, what are they now? 3? Is it 3-5? No, 3-4. They're 3-4. Okay, 2 of those wins are against the Jets. Okay,
yeah.
I mean, I guess I want to see the Patriots beat somebody of value first before I look at them and say that they're a team that can give us anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. They've played a close game against the Buccaneers. They played Dallas close, but until you're able to win those games like they were in the past, they're still a team that's basically 1-4 with 2 wins over the Jets.
Yeah.
Nathan?
We talk about the Patriots or the Titans Chiefs?
You can talk whatever you want about. Yeah.
I was surprised at the Titans Chiefs game, just like we were saying. The Chiefs, like we said before this game, I think we said last week's day. If the last week's episode, the Chiefs lose this game, it's time to get worried. I think, and I think it is time to be worried, especially with the way they lost it.
Right.
Who knows how long Mahomes will be out? They were doing their best. His offensive linemen were doing their best to hold him up, so people wouldn't see him just collapse from that concussion he probably got.
Right.
It looked like he definitely got a concussion. I don't know if you saw that, Joseph.
I saw it.
I mean, he was. If they would not had him up, he would just collapse. I mean, he didn't know where he was at. So who knows how long he'll be at? NFL saw that, so they'll probably keep him out 5-6 weeks. So yeah, I mean, the Chiefs. Yeah, something's wrong. I mean, Mahomes made a good point in the post-game press conference. He said something to the effect of, like they have the talent to turn it around. Like if they can get it right, like they obviously have the talent to be a great team. It's just, I guess they, for whatever reason, their offense isn't able to pick up the defense this year. But yeah, I'm officially concerned with the Chiefs. The Titans, the Titans are a little strange. Like they'll win games like this and the games like the Bills game, but sometimes they just come out and look like they just don't look that good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always gonna lean toward feeling good about the Titans' chances because they have Derrick Henry. So,
right.
And then as far as the Patriots go, I agree with everything you all said already. They haven't beaten anybody yet. I am surprised, like Joseph said, that they scored 54 points on anybody. But I'm not I don't all of a sudden think they're any better of a team just because they beat the Jets.
Well, I think the issue for the Chiefs, as I mentioned last week, coming up now, they played the Giants on Monday Night Football next week. They should win that football game. If they lose to the Giants, then we can officially say that the Chiefs are pretty much done. I mean, if they lose at home to the Giants, you can pretty much say that their season is over. But let's assume that they beat the Giants, which they probably should. They'll be 4-4. But then they face the Packers, the Raiders, and the Cowboys in successive weeks before they get to their bye game. So those are going to be very key games for them because the Packers are the Packers. The Raiders look to be pretty good. They're 5-2, and the Cowboys are 5-1. So you figure if they beat the Giants, I mean, I think they got to come out of those next 3 weeks at least 2-1 and be 6-5 going into their bye week to have a chance to turn this thing around. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and what comes to mind, I mean, you read that schedule, like very tough schedule. Yeah, as it should be. They got Super Bowl. It's a first place schedule, but compare that to the Buccaneers. It's like, I was looking at it the other day. I don't know off the top of my head, but it seemed like a very easy schedule.
Right.
I don't know how they came away with the schedule that easy, really, but the Chiefs have one of the tougher schedules here down the stretch.
Yeah, they really do. It's going to be tough for them. But luckily, though, if they can beat the Raiders and beat the Chargers the next time they play them, they're still in the hunt. But as I said last week, it looks like they're not going to have home field advantage, and that's going to be a test for the Chiefs. Going into the playoffs,
right?
Which they've had the last 2 years. Which makes a big difference.
Do you think that Do you think this is what we're saying it is for the Chiefs? This is just like this is their offense that it's just off track right now. They have to get back on track. Or do you think what we've seen for the last few years is the thing that's the abnormality? Like this is actually who they are, and they've just somehow played out of their minds the last couple of years. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think you don't get to 2 Super Bowls in a row and that be an abnormality. I think that as far as this year, though, I'm not really sure yet. Like I part of me thinks they are really in trouble, but then again, like I said last week, still like if they win the next 5 or 6 in a row, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's about right. Like right. I think they could any time. It's just will they? I don't really know.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with. I posed that question, but I was going to say what you just said. If you the streak they put together over multiple years would be the thing that you'd say is who they are, and then the thing that's happened this year, just had a few games, would be the abnormality. I agree with that. But I'm at the point now, though, after this loss to the Titans, because it was such a big loss that I would be surprised if they won the next 5 or 6 games in a row, especially considering who they're playing. I don't expect them to do that type of thing anymore.
No, I agree with you, Nathan. I think their defense is horrible. Okay, I mean, and I don't see that improving because you're not going to have different guys come in the building all of a sudden. So unless the offense can get back to what it was, I see them being maybe even a 500 team, maybe 9-8, 10-7. Because right now they can't.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if they finish the season 500.
Yeah. I mean, right now their offense can't dig out of the hole that the defense puts them in, and you're not having guys step up outside of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and you got Edwards-Helaire hurt, so they don't have the running game presence, and you got Mahomes trying to do way too much, and it's not working this year. I mean, all those no-look passes and rolling out and throwing on one leg, seem to be magic the last 2 years, and it's not happening this year. So, to quote the Zohan, it's just not happening for me. So, I think they're in trouble. I really do. I think it could be a rather long season. Let's move on to the Cardinals. This team, I don't know what to think of them. I mean, they're 7-0. I mean, they're undefeated. They're the only undefeated team left, and they continue to win games in pretty strong fashion. I hate to say it this way, Joseph, but are they for real?
I mean, this goes back to what we always talk about. Like,
you are what your record says you are, right?
By for real, do you mean could they win the Super Bowl? No.
Yes. Yeah. Could they win the Super Bowl?
No, I don't think they are for real. Then that's the definition of real. I just don't see it. I don't think they're beating Brady or Rodgers or possibly even the Cowboys in the playoffs. I just don't. Or the Rams. Like I would favor all those teams above them in the playoffs, right? So they can go 16-1 or 15-2 or whatever they want to go, but I don't think they're for real. That's the answer.
All right, well, let's look at their schedule. They beat the Titans in week 1, and I mean, that can neither here nor there. They did beat the Rams. They beat the 49ers. That's really it. I mean, they beat the Browns, but, we're not really sure about the Browns yet. So really, you have to say the Rams are probably the only team they beat. The Titans week 1, who knows in week 1. But their schedule gets a little bit tougher, but really, actually, I take that back. I mean, they play the Packers this week on Thursday Night Football, which is going to be an interesting game. But I just heard that the Packers, Devontae Smith, Adams. I'm sorry, I always get those two Devontaes mixed up. He's been tested positive for COVID, so the Packers may not have him Thursday night, which is definitely going to be a benefit for the Cardinals. But either way, they play the Packers, then they play at the 49ers. They play the Panthers, who we've figured out are not for real. They're at the Seahawks. The question there is, will Russell Wilson be back for that game? Then they're at the Bears. Then they host the Rams again. And then after that, they play the Colts, the Cowboys, and the Seahawks. So really, I mean, looking at that schedule, barring any injuries, I see the Cardinals going 14-3 at worst and possibly 15-2.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. I wouldn't favor them against any of those teams I mentioned in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Well, yeah, like Joseph said, if your definition of for real means could you win the Super Bowl, I agree. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And I don't really think they have a great chance to. Like, I don't think they could. Like in the playoffs, just because they haven't been there before. I think this is a building block season. They'll get there. Obviously, they may be great. They may be only lose like 2 games in the regular season, but I think they need to see the playoffs a few seasons before they maybe they win a playoff game this year, maybe, and then maybe next year they get to the NFC Championship, or Well, I guess if they won a playoff game this year, they'd be in the NFC Championship. They're probably just going to play the divisional round.
If they're not, if they win the division.
But my point is, I think it's going to take a few years before they actually could get to the Super Bowl.
Right.
But I will say that, first of all, the defense is pretty impressive. They've only given up 20 points or more twice this season.
Right.
All right, that's pretty good.
Right.
And then I was impressed this past week in the Texans game, because it looked to be one of those games early on that was going to be it could be a really close game, because the Cardinals were struggling. They had a safety in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were down 5-0 after a Houston field goal in the second quarter.
Right.
So then I always felt like they were going to win, but I didn't know if they were going to cover their spread, which I figured was a pretty big spread.
Right.
So I thought, okay, but then they ended up winning the game 31-5. I mean, after the Texans kicked the field goal in the second quarter, start of the second quarter, make it 5-0, they didn't score again the rest of the game. The Cardinals ended up beating 31-5.
Right.
So that's what good teams, I think, do. When they struggle like that, they turn around and they fix the issues, in that game, and they end up winning by a lot, they did.
Right.
They didn't just squeak by and try, maybe they'll come out next week looking better. They actually turned around during the game. And the Texans are horrible, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, that's.
Yeah, and the Cardinals are a legit team. I mean, they're very good. That's, my point was. Yeah.
Well, Nathan mentioned their defense. If you look at point differential, I don't know how much weight you put to that. They have the it's kind of like run differential in Major League Baseball. The Cardinals have a plus 111, which is the highest in the NFL right now. The next nearest team to them in the NFC is the Buccaneers at plus 86. We were talking about the Chiefs a minute ago. The Chiefs are a minus 15. So, I think that tells you a little bit about that team, is that they're able to score points. And their defense, as Nathan said, is only given up 20 points or more twice this season. Their defense is pretty good.
That team has the makings, in my mind, of maybe being the next Chiefs type of team, where they're going to make the playoffs, maybe go deep, and maybe make some Super Bowls in the next 3 years or 5 years. But then once their defense starts to fade away, the offense is going to have to carry it, and it's not going to really happen. You know what I mean? They're going to start to slide a little bit, I feel like.
Right.
I feel like that could happen. I don't know.
Let's talk about the Bengals real quick. Joseph alluded to the Bengals. I was impressed with the Bengals. We watched a lot of that football game. It was close for a while. I mean, it was 3-3, then 10-3, then 10-10, then 17-10. I mean, but then the Bengals just pulled away. And I was amazed at the fact that, their last touchdown, they were up 34-17, basically trying to run some clock. And they just ran a running play right up the middle, 50 yards for a touchdown. I mean, the Ravens defense really just didn't show up Sunday.
Yeah. Is that Mixon?
No.
Well, no, Mixon had a 21-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter, but the one you're talking about, the 46-yard one at the end of the game was Samaje Perine.
Perine, yeah.
The Bengals, they have a lot of talent, not only talent, but young talent,
Right. Jamar Chase had 201 yards receiving.
Right.
I think he was the fifth. I think I saw he was the fifth rookie in NFL history to have a 200+ yard receiving game.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then you have T. Higgins still. And Mixon and Perine are both good running backs, fairly young. And then Burrow. And then, that late in the game, I don't know what was up with the Ravens defense, if they kind of are mailing it in at that point. But, the Bengals are, I put them right. I don't think they're as good as the Cardinals, but I put them in kind of that same class of they're not going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I think they're at the start of something potentially promising here.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow had a great game, 416 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, for a second-year guy who didn't even play his full first season, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I think he's better than a lot of these first or second year quarterbacks, like the guy from the Jets. I think he's better / going to be better than Trevor Lawrence. I think he's better than
I agree.
the guy that's he's better than Darnold. He's better than Mac Jones. I think he's I think he's only behind Herbert as far as young quarterback talent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Good.
Yeah, I agree.
I would agree with that. The Mac Jones is the most about who I may put heavy, but I think a lot of the Mac Jones things just the fact he plays in New England.
Right.
Yeah.
Put Mac Jones on the Jets or the Jaguars. I don't think he's showing these type of flashes. You know what I mean? I think that's a good system. But but if you said maybe the Ravens defense, maybe they would just let it down. Well, what does that say about the Ravens? If they have a defense who just lets down in the game, gives up a 56 or 50-yard touchdown, right? Yeah, the Ravens. Yeah, that was weird.
I think the yeah, you don't see it a lot because they haven't really been beaten like that this season or last season. I think they have a little bit of front runner in them. Like
Yeah.
when things are going well and Jackson's lighting it up, they're excited and they're hard to beat, but we haven't seen them face that much adversity. You know, I'm not sure that I feel I sense a little front runningness in them, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's my point I was trying to make with the Cardinals. Put the Ravens in the Cardinals position where they're struggling in a game like that.
Right.
And they're not going to come out 31-5. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like now if it's the Texans, maybe they're going to win the game. But I'm just saying I agree with you. I don't think the Ravens have that, which the Cardinals seem to show me, where when they come out and things aren't clicking for them, and their offense is not working, and they get down early, they don't sound the type of team who comes back from that well.
I agree. Definitely agree.
I think the front running thing is well put.
Yeah. Also, I think we're starting to see, and we talked about this earlier in the year, that some of these teams that were like fake 3-0 or 2-0 teams, like the Panthers, they're now. What are they? 3-0, another 3-4.
Right.
Broncos, same thing.
Right.
They're 2-0. And then on the opposite side, like I think the Falcons started 0-3, right?
Right. I think they did. You're right.
Never thought they were that bad of a team, and now they're 3-4, and they're right in the hunt for that 7th spot in the NFC. Like it's conceivable. I think them and the Vikings, the Bears are 3-4, and the Saints are 4-2 now. But I think right around that 7th spot, it's possible.
Yeah, the Falcons are 3-3, and they did lose their first 2 games. Then they beat the Giants, which
right.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's not. I mean
They
started 1-2, but that didn't really make you feel any better about it.
All right, you brought up the Giants. Does their 25-3 win change your opinion about them whatsoever?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think I will say this though. I thought their defense played really well. I mean, you can say it's the Panthers or not, but their defense played extraordinarily well.
Right.
And they were a little bit shorthanded. The offense was extremely shorthanded. And I thought some of the young guys stepped up. I thought I'm starting to come around on Daniel Jones. He has had so many good performances, especially being so shorthanded, that I think he could be the guy. I think if I could see him with a few weeks with all the weapons there, I think the Giants have a chance maybe to pull out a little bit out of their doldrums. But right now they're playing shorthanded. They just don't have a lot of players.
I would love to see how badly they would beat the Panthers if they had all their main guys.
Well, that's right.
But do you think that could have helped them? Do you think they kind of changed their offensive approach because they didn't have Barkley and the receivers?
Yeah, it could have. I mean, I hate to say this because in New York this would probably be blasphemy, but this guy that the Giants have at running back is Devontae Booker. I mean, this guy's pretty good. I mean, you got Barkley. He's got all the bells and whistles and laser light shows, but the guy's been hurt so much that you can't really count on him being there. And this guy just continues to pound the ball away. Yeoman's work, catches a couple passes out of backfield. I mean, it goes back to what we've talked about on many other podcasts is, do you really need that great running back at number 2 in the draft?
That's what I was about to say. It goes back to that point. Like if you could have told the Giants, okay, well, you have Devontae Booker as your running back, and then you can get whoever you want with that draft pick.
Exactly.
They probably. I mean, you think you have to take that, right?
Yeah. I mean, you get I mean, anyway, so to answer your original question though, Joseph, no, I don't, my estimation of the Giants hasn't changed a bit yet. We'll find out about them in the upcoming weeks. I mean, they've got the Chiefs this week, then they've got the Buccaneers. And then I think they have, I want to say the Eagles before their bye week.
They got the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Buccaneers, the Eagles, the Dolphins.
Okay. The Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Buccaneers, and then they have a bye. So, let's see how the next 3 weeks go. And what I mean by that is, can they slip up and beat one of those teams? Like, can they beat a Chiefs team that can't seem to get it together? Can they beat a Raiders team who we really don't know much about just yet? They gave the Buccaneers a good fight last year. So I don't know. I'll see. I mean, I think if the Giants come out of the next 3 games 1-2 and end up going into the bye 3-7, as bad as that sounds, I think that's probably about as best.
I think the bye is after the Raiders game. Right?
Okay.
Chiefs, Raiders, and then they have a bye.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah. All right.
But well, maybe you're saying that you wanted to see what they did against the Cowboys a couple weeks ago.
Right.
They ended up losing 44-20. I forget what you said. Was that a good sign for you in that game, or you wanted them to keep it close? I think.
No, I wanted them to keep it a little closer than that.
Closer than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have a feeling that no matter what they do, short of like just about running the table, I have a feeling no matter what they do, you're not really going to be sold on them this year. Like,
Well, no, I mean, unless they're
what if they lose every remaining game except they beat the Buccaneers? How would you feel about it?
no, I still wouldn't feel any different. I mean, I told Joseph weeks ago that I predicted a 2-15 season, and then they beat the Saints, and I said, okay, 3-14. Well, now they're sitting at 2-5. So prove to me that you can win more of those games. Now, when they get Barkley back and what's his name, Kadarius Toney back, their rookie wide receiver, and Galladay back, when they get a full complement of players, then we'll see. We'll see if they can pyramid off the success that they have right now. But right now, I'm going to say I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I mean, they were playing Sam Darnold. I mean, that even though the start of the season, when you said that name, people thought, oh, pretty solid quarterback. But if you think about it with the bigger picture, it's not exactly somebody who,
right,
who the defense is going to be up, the defensive coordinator is going to be up late the night before worrying about how he's going to stop.
Right. That's exactly right. I don't think we need to talk about the Buccaneers. I mean, they hammered the Bears, but that's.
Well, I will say this though, I was surprised they beat them. I thought the Bears could keep it a little closer than that.
Yeah, you thought so.
Every time I turned around, the Buccaneers are about to score again.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the Bears have like no pride or what?
Turnovers, probably.
Yeah, Fields was pretty horrible, which we've all kind of predicted. But
how about the Rams? I mean, the Rams struggled with the Lions. I mean, the Rams are really an enigma, aren't they? I mean, they'll come out one week and beat the Buccaneers bad. Then they'll struggle with another football team. Then they'll beat the Giants, which is not saying much. And then they'll struggle with the Lions. I mean, I don't know about the Rams. They're 6-1, but they don't seem to be a very dominant team, do they?
A lot of that struggling early on in the game was just like ridiculousness by the Lions. They had nothing to lose.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they got up 7-0.
Right.
And then they kicked an onside kick, which I'm sure the Rams didn't see that coming. Then they ended up going for it on fourth down on that next drive too.
Right.
They faked the punt and they got it. They kicked the field goal. And then somehow, which I still don't understand, later in the game they faked another punt and got it.
Yeah, I don't.
The Rams aren't looking for that one now.
I don't understand that. I mean, if let me put it this way: in the NFL, if a team fakes a punt on you, shame on them. If they fake another one on you, shame on you, and you should fire your special teams coordinator on the spot.
Maybe they felt like they won't do it again. Like I don't know, but
no, they're not going to do that again.
But that should. But my point is, the little trickery, like got nothing to lose type of mentality, should have kept it close to the start. But the Rams should have still pulled away, but they never did. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is strange. So maybe that was Goff, like I don't know. I mean, of course, that was like an emotional game for both teams. I guess it's Goff and Stafford were playing each other's teams and all that, but. The Rams are weird. They're 6-1 though. So what are you gonna say?
They are 6-1. Yeah. All right, let's do this real quick. I'm going to throw out some teams to you guys that were considered teams that could contend this year. Okay, and I want you to tell me, for the Super Bowl, and I want you to tell me one. Are they done, or do they still have a chance? And if you don't think they were teams that should have been considered to contend, tell me that as well. All right. Let's see. Minnesota Vikings.
Well, I don't think they ever should have been considered a Super Bowl contender.
Okay.
But as far as the Super Bowl goes, no, I don't think they have a chance. They're done.
Okay. Saints. New Orleans Saints.
Done. They're not going to contend.
Same as the Vikings. Who said the Saints are Super Bowl contender this year?
Lose Breeze now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same as the Vikings.
I'm just asking. Okay, Rams. After what we just talked about.
Yeah, okay. I think they're Super Bowl contenders. Yeah, especially they're the only team to beat Tampa Bay so far, which says something. I think.
I agree.
Okay, 49ers.
No.
Legitimate contenders at the start of the season, right?
Well, I'll give you that because assuming Garoppolo was going to stay healthy, like he had gotten to Super Bowl, and you didn't really know how good the Cardinals are going to be yet, so. I would have heard that argument, but no, they're not going to win.
All right,
I agree.
All right, let's go to the AFC. Dolphins.
No, North should they have been contenders?
Yeah, I don't think anyone really thought they would be, and they're not.
Okay, Cleveland Browns.
No.
Should they have been even considered?
I don't think so, but I would have at least heard the argument based on the fact that. The way the last season went, and then winning the playoff game, like extremely out of the realm. But and let me say this too about the Dolphins, that if they do end up trading for Deshaun Watson, that's been talked about. I don't think it makes a difference this year, but I think that is an upgrade over Tua Tagovailoa, which I think that'll help them in the future.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as the Browns, I agree. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team, but I think some people did, and I could see how they would think that maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see that, but now, no.
How about the Steelers?
As weird as it seems, yeah, I still put them in there because, especially with the Chiefs being kind of wavering now, I think they are.
Okay. Nathan?
No, I don't think so. I can see the point of the Chiefs. That's the typical powerhouse in their conference. That's not a powerhouse anymore. But I just think the Steelers are. I think they're done until they kind of get some younger blood in the offense, specifically Big Ben. They need to kind of reboot their whole offense until they're going to contend for the Super Bowl.
How about the Colts?
No, I don't think Wentz is good enough. Basically.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
How about the Chargers? Now, I don't know that they were considered Super Bowl contenders, but everybody thought they were going to have a pretty good season, and they're still 4-2. But how much did their loss to the Ravens, their pretty bad loss to the Ravens, affect you? Are they still in the hunt, or you think they're done?
Yeah, I don't think that really changed my opinion. I just never really thought they were Super Bowl ready. I think I'd put them in a similar situation as the Cardinals and Bengals, where I think they're building something here, but they're just not ready yet.
Nathan?
I agree. They're one of those teams like just like the Cardinals and Bengals. They have a lot of young talent. They're the future powerhouse teams in the NFL. Chargers, Cardinals, Bengals, but not right now.
Okay. Now let me throw out a scenario for you, both of you guys, on this final team, the Chiefs. Now the Rams beat the Giants badly. Okay. If the Chiefs have trouble, if they lose to the Giants, we have some severe problems with the Chiefs. But even if they have trouble, if they do anything less than convincingly beat the Giants, would you say they're done?
No.
Or would you? No. Okay.
I think they're still Super Bowl contenders. I think all they have to do is get in the playoffs at this point. And if they get in, then they could get to the Super Bowl.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of where to start with what I'm going to say. First of all, I think we already have some serious problems with the Chiefs. First of all, if they lose to the Giants, then they're just further down the rabbit hole.
Right.
Further down the rabbit hole. But I agree with Joseph. I'm never really going to say this year that they're not Super Bowl contenders just because of all the experience they have in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And what they've done the last few years. Like Joseph said, when I say they're in serious trouble, I mean they could miss the playoffs this year if they don't get together.
Right.
But as long as they make the playoffs, like Joseph said, like they've been there before, I think they could. You have to consider them a contender for the Super Bowl.
Right.
So that's why I say no. But I'm not so sure they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I think they're in danger of missing the playoffs if they lose a few more games. And I think they'll struggle as a wild card, but you never know. Joseph's right. When you've been to 2 Super Bowls in a row, and when you were in the AFC Championship game the year before that, I think they know what it takes to win. Yeah, there's no question.
And I will say, no offense to your Giants, but that's the type of team you want to play after last week's game.
No, I agree with that.
Especially considering that. Look, I haven't heard anything about Mahomes, but after what I saw, I don't think there's any way he can play. Maybe they'll let him play. I don't know.
But if there's a game that you're going to sit him out, I think this would be the game.
Yeah, but have you heard anything about?
Not yet. No.
Because that's not the Chiefs' decision, right? It's like somebody in the NFL or something.
Right. I will say this though: if they have to start Chad Henne against the Giants, given the state of the Chiefs' defense, the Giants could beat them.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah. Well, that would change your view though of. Because if they lost to the Giants without Mahomes, though, it's like, well,
but you can't. But if they're at the point now, they can't afford to lose.
No, they can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
Was it last year or the year before where Mahomes got hurt? Kind of like a few weeks in, and Henne played.
Yeah. It was last year.
Okay, yeah, and Henne, they did okay, right?
They did okay. But that was against the Browns. Remember, they almost lost that game.
They were a better team last year, though, just like all around.
Yeah. All right, let's look at week number 8 coming up here. The Thursday night game this week. Packers and Cardinals. Now, I think that's going to be a really, really interesting game. It's in Arizona. The Cardinals, right now, the early line, they're favored by 6.5. But the Packers look to be on a roll, and the Cardinals are the Cardinals, like we talked about. So what do you guys think about that game?
I think that, looking over the schedule, it's easily the game of the week.
Right,
so
right.
Not a lot of great games this week, just from a glance. But
I agree.
I'm surprised that they're favored by 6.5 because I think that I'm obviously not like an odds maker, but usually they'll give the home team 3 points.
Right.
But I think that's kind of where you should leave it. Like, I think that the Packers, you almost have to throw out that week one game where they played the Saints in Jacksonville. Like,
Right.
ever since, it's like a totally different team, and I think their pedigree and experience with Rodgers, I think they're just as good, if not better, than the Cardinals. Like I said, I would favor them in the playoffs, actually. So I'm surprised they're favored by that much. I think that this is the week that the Cardinals lose, and I think this is the week the Lions get their first win. I'm going to go ahead and say both of those right now.
Okay. All right. Good. Nathan, you have any comments on that game Thursday night?
Yeah, easily like Joe said, easily the game of the week. I'm really interested to see what happens. I really have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
I can see a lot of scenarios.
Right.
I can see the Packers blowing them out.
Right.
I can see the Cardinals winning.
Right.
I could kind of see the Cardinals blowing the Packers out.
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. Like, I can see a number of scenarios. I mean, the only scenario I don't see, I guess, is like a 10-7 game, like a low scoring game. There's going to be a lot of points, I think. And you said the Lions are probably going to win.
I think they beat the Eagles this week.
They have to win at some point. Yeah. But another game that's kind of sneaky good in my mind is the Patriots at the Chargers.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Just because, like we've been talking about, if the Patriots actually want to like make a push at the playoffs this year, this is a big game for them to show that they can do that.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
And the Chargers, I mean, if they're for real, they're not going to lose to the Patriots at home.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think no matter what happens in that game, we have a pretty important takeaway from it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you guys. I think the Packers Cardinals game is obviously the game of the week. I think you have to pressure Rodgers. The 49ers had success doing that a couple years ago. I know he gets rid of the ball quickly, but you got to pressure him and play tight coverage on the corners. That's the only way you can beat him. If he has time in the pocket, you could forget about it. So I think that's the game of the week. I think Dolphins at Bills, while not a great game, I think this could pretty much effectively end the Dolphins season if it's not already ended. I think there's some other games. Steelers, Browns, not a marquee game, but I think the loser is in serious, serious trouble. I think the Bengals at the Jets, chance for the Bengals to prove that they could get the job done against a team that they should get it done against.
Well,
right?
I want to see how many points they win by, because they should definitely win. But
Titans at Colts. I mean, I think that's a game for the Colts to decide, hey, are we going to be in this race or are we going to concede it to the Titans halfway through? 49ers, Bears. I think the loser is done. I mean, I think that's an important game for those two teams. Rams, Texans, same thing, Nathan, with the Bengals, Jets. I mean, the Rams should blow the Texans off the field. Jaguars, Seahawks. I mean, gosh, they're probably going to have Geno Smith starting again. If they lose this one, they can pretty much pack it up. You already mentioned Chargers, Patriots, Buccaneers, Saints. I mean, gosh, I think that's going to be a good game only because the Saints are pretty much playing for their lives in that one. I mean, if they lose that one, what do you think?
Well, no, like I think that they're a similar team to the Bears, and we saw what Tampa Bay just did to the Bears. Like, I think I could see Tampa Bay winning by like 3 touchdowns at least. I mean, I'm not saying, but I think that, I don't think it's going to be a very close game.
Okay. First of all, how are the Saints 4-2? That's like a sneaky good record. I definitely don't think they're a 4-2 Cowboy team. I'm looking at they beat the Packers week 1, which is a weird game.
Yeah.
They beat the Patriots.
Right.
By the way, I think if they play Patriots right now, they lose the Patriots.
Probably.
I feel like that was week 3, but when they beat Washington, they beat Seattle.
Yeah. They haven't really beaten anybody.
I agree. Well, the reason I was surprised at 4-2 because I agree with Joseph. I think they're going to get killed by the Buccaneers.
Yeah. They lost to the Panthers and they lost to the Giants.
For some reason, I think the Bears are better than they are. Like, I think the Bears are better than the Saints. I don't know. For some reason, I think the Bears are not horrible. Maybe because I'm just thinking of their defense, and I don't even know if the defense is good, but I just have this in my mind that the Bears should have a good defense, I guess. But yeah, the Buccaneers are going to kill the Saints.
And the Cowboys, Vikings, I think that's an important game for the Vikings. I mean, they're 3-3. I don't think they can afford to lose another game. And the Cowboys, they're on cruise control. They're going to run away with the East, so it really doesn't matter. They're playing for seeding, I think, more than anything else, even though they would never admit that.
I think it's kind of cool the Giants Chiefs is Monday night because I feel like tell me what you think about this. I feel like primetime games, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, are games where anything can kind of happen.
Yeah, I would agree.
Especially Thursday night for the obvious reasons of short turnaround stuff. But even Sunday night, Monday night, like I feel like in other words, I would like if the Giants Chiefs played at 1:00 on Sunday, I feel like the Chiefs are going to win.
Right.
But for some reason, because it's played on Monday night, I feel like the Giants can maybe win. Is that weird? I
Could
don't
be.
know.
No, I don't disagree with that. Let's wrap it up by looking at the standings. That we did this a little bit last week. I think you guys can chime in after I'm done with the recap here. I think the Cowboys run away with the East. I think the Packers run away with the North. I think the Buccaneers run away with the South. I think the West, after week 2 or 3, we thought the West was the most competitive division. Now we're seeing that the 49ers and Seahawks, mostly because of injuries, but still they've fallen off. I think the Rams and the Cardinals are the 2 teams in contention there. So I think those are your playoff possibility contenders there. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that as far as the NFC goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How boring is the NFC? If you look at it, I've
Pretty
never
much.
thought about it until you just laid out, but it's basically already decided. I mean,
Pretty much.
except for the Cardinals and Rams, either one of these could win, but I still think the Cardinals are going to win that. So
Yeah, and I think of those teams I mentioned, I think those are your teams that have a chance at the Super Bowl to me, because there's going to be 3 more playoff teams, but I don't see any of those teams having a chance to beat
that's
them.
your point. The division winners of the NFC are going to be very hard to beat.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Now let's go to the AFC. As much as Joseph and rightfully so is carrying the banner of the Patriots. I said rightfully so. I mean, you can't count them out. I think the Bills are going to end up winning that division. The North all of a sudden has become a very competitive division, and I don't think the Bengals have enough staying power, as you mentioned, but I think the Ravens and the Bengals will both make the playoffs. It's just a matter of who wins the division. I think the Titans are going to win the South, and then the West. Gosh, who knows? So to follow up on what Nathan said, the NFC is a little boring. The AFC is anything but.
Yeah, I think the North and the West are the 2 most competitive divisions in football. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, Nathan, you agree with that?
No, I agree with that. I'm looking at this. Yeah, I think the Ravens are still going to win the North, but I do think the Bengals will probably get in the playoffs. In the West, I really don't know what's going to happen in the West. Like you said, I don't see Denver having any chance.
No.
But outside of that, I feel like it's kind of anybody's division. What do you think? Do you think? Well, we already talked about Pittsburgh a little bit. You think Joseph thinks they have a chance? You don't, right?
I don't know. I mean, I guess they have a chance, but I just don't see them having a good enough running game. I think Ben Roethlisberger's over the hill. And if their defense doesn't have a stellar outing in any particular game, they seem to struggle. So, yeah, I don't really think they have a chance. I mean, they might make the playoffs, but I don't think they have a chance to go very deep.
But like we said, that's the conference where the wild card teams could make a run in the Super Bowl.
They could. You're right about that. Yeah. Okay, so that's our recap for week number 7 in the NFL. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. Remember our Twitter account at PressBoxPod. Nathan's put up some polls. Joseph's put up some things. Make sure you interact with us on there. We're starting to get some good traction with some people that have seen our tweets and have some interacted with it. We want you to jump on that as well. At PressBoxPod is also our Instagram handle. And of course, the PressBox Podcast YouTube channel, which Nathan has done a fantastic job with, putting up full episodes as well as clips of some of our better segments and some of our better parts of those podcasts. We've certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. Remember, we're available for fantasy advice. Joseph's fantasy team is doing much better than Nathan's and I, so you might want to ask him for some advice on that. But yeah, we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Episode number 103, NFL recap, week 7. Make sure you join us again next week for our week recap of week 8. So for Joseph, for Nathan, I'm Ralph, and we'll see you next time on the Press Box Podcast.